And here we go live from Phoenix, AZ on this wonderful new op day, October 12th already. Holy moly. This month is already half over. That is incredible. Incredible, I tell you. Wow. Wow. That just blows my mind. I didn't even realize it was the 12th. Anyway, sorry about that. A little mind-blowing experience there. Today we are on negotiation new op day here at the Sell a House Wholesale Real Estate Investing number 176. And I just want to welcome all the noodlers and everybody out there who is here for some negotiating tips, insider delicacies to negotiating sellers into giving you contracts to purchase their property for discounts on the dollar so that you can flip them and make lots and lots of money. Sound good? Anybody interested in that? All right, then. That's what I figured. All right, so we have been discussing on new op days for the past several sessions now. Those are those 7-day periods you guys use that puny word for. But several sessions we have gotten into Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, because real estate is relationships. And we have one of these right here that says that. See, real estate equals relationships. And it is your relationships or your ability to communicate with people, to understand how people think, to read people, to persuade people, and to lead people into doing what you want them to do that will determine whether or not you are successful or if you turn wholesaler to wholesaler. Okay, so that's my little flashcard thing this morning. How to win friends and influence people. Quick recap for those of you who haven't been with us. In the very beginning, his first chapter here talks about how and why this book was written. The how I'm not going to get into, but the why basically is this. Dealing with people is the biggest problem you will have, especially in business, but also true if you are a housewife, an engineer, or a gas station attendant. It makes no difference. Dealing with people is the biggest problem you will ever have, period, bottom line. That's why this book was written, so that we can learn how to deal with people and eliminate our biggest problem. Okay, the next thing he gets into is 9 suggestions how to get the most out of this book. Okay, this is not just a reading book. This is not just let me read this, how to win friends and influence people for entertainment. This is a study guide. This is a manual. This is a how to win friends and influence people. And it's something that you want to refer to often. So he actually gives you a written guide onto how to get the most out of this book. And, for any books that you're interested in studying, the materials, the principles, the techniques or whatnot within them, this is a great outline to use for any of those things. So, number 1, develop a deep driving desire to master the principles of human relationship. Okay? If you don't have a deep driving desire to master the principles, you're not going to give a crap, all right? And it's just going to go in one ear and out the other, like 90% of all the other bull crap is that flies around in the universe here does anyway. So develop that driving desire to understand and master the principles of human relationship before you even start reading this book. Otherwise, it's just another book. Read each chapter twice, okay? I suggest you read a chapter, blast through it, read the whole thing, get some of that knowledge in you, an understanding, and then go back and read it again and get into number 4, which is highlight important ideas. And that's where you get into in the second reading, highlighting all the interesting stuff, the important things that stand out to you and make sense for you. Along the way in that second reading, stop frequently and ask, how can I apply this suggestion? Okay, you really want to look at what the material is that's being presented to you and think about how can you in real life, how can you put a real life application on this? Where can you use this? Who can you use this on? You know, all of those types of things. Where would this be beneficial to you and to others? I mean, this is really all about others in this book, and you'll see as we go through it. So number 4 is highlight the important ideas. Number 5 is apply these principles at every opportunity and use this book as a handbook to refer to resolve everyday issues. You know, if you go out and you're at work and you have an issue with a coworker or whatnot, and you guys walk away a little bit heated at each other, come back, look through this book. You're going to find a solution on how to go back and patch that and put it back together and create a relationship that is, now obviously, you know, you want to know enough knowledge out of this book to prevent that from happening in the first place. That's the whole idea here. If you get in a little tiff with a coworker, the information in this book is going to show you how to overcome that adversity in a way in which both people feel satisfied walking away from the table as, you know, as if they've gotten a win out of the deal. Number 6, an accountability partner. You know, maybe pay a friend or somebody who might be reading this book with you or something like that, who knows these principles, to bust you every time you're violating one of the principles, and you know make it so you have to pay them whatever it is, you know, $10 every time you catch me, you know, doing you know, I want to do this. And you can go through a piece at a time. You could say, hey, you know, I want to stop criticizing people. So if you ever catch me criticizing somebody, I want you to bust me on that, and I'm going to pay you $10 for it. Okay, because I want to stop doing that. And you can do that. That's a great way to do an accountability partner. The next one is take notes of your days and track your progress. Review mistakes and highlight improvements, and describe the lessons learned from each mistake and improvement. So that's a big one. You know, you can go through and you can read this book and you can go out and you can do things, but unless you reflect upon what you've done, you know, did I do it good? Did I not do it good? You know, was it a success or was it a failure? Unless you reflect upon that and think about how it went and understand what was good about it, what was bad about it, and make the corrections to improve upon it, you never will. You'll just keep going out there and repeating the same thing over and over again. So the reflection is big. And keep notes of how and where and when you applied these principles. So you want to keep notes of, you know, hey, today while I was at the gas station, you know, I applied this principle here. I said blah 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 to the attendant, and you know, this is the results that I got. They were very happy. They smiled. You know, it kind of seemed like it lit up their day. Blah blah blah. And as you go through at the end of that, like at the end of a month, go back and look at your progress over the course of a month. That way you can see, you know, how much you are advancing with the use of these techniques as well too. So then we get into part 1 and chapter 1, which is part 1 is the fundamental techniques in handling people. Fundamental techniques in handling people, okay? These are the basics, very simplest core concepts, all right? We're not getting into anything deep here yet, although realistically, this is some pretty deep stuff just in these first 2 chapters. The first chapter, the bottom line to the first chapter, called, I'm going to go back, I forget what he calls them here, is, well, principle number 1 in the fundamental techniques of helping people is don't criticize. I mean, that's it. Don't criticize people. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Don't do those 3 things. And, you know, because, and here's why. Criticism is, and it's written in the chapter here, this piece, I took this right out of the chapter. Criticism is futile. It puts people on the defensive and makes them strive to justify themselves. It wounds the pride, it diminishes a sense of importance, and it arouses resentment. What good does all that do? You know, wounding someone's pride, diminishing their feeling of importance, you know, arousing their resentment against you, putting people on the defensive and making them justify themselves. None of that stuff does any good for anybody. And it certainly does nothing towards promoting productivity. And that's what this is all about. That's what we're talking about, is promoting productivity. And basically in getting sellers to produce, you know, their signature on a contract is one thing that we want to promote. You know, we want to promote productivity in. but people around your workplace and things like that too. You want to promote productivity. All of these things right here with criticism and condemnation and complaining simply just arouse resentment against you. And when there's resentment, nobody's going to want to perform to their peak for something that they don't like. Pretty simple stuff. Chapter 2 now, we get into the the big secret of dealing with people. That's right. What's the big secret? Well, here it is. The big secret is that the deepest principle in human nature is the craving for appreciation. All right? Of the 8 strongest drives of a human, our desire for the feeling of importance ranks right up there with food, sleep, sex, and the welfare of our children. It's just that important to us as human beings to have a feeling of importance. What did I just say about criticizing? Diminishes the sense of importance. Okay, if that is our deepest, one of our top 8 deepest cravings is for the feeling of importance or appreciation in this world, and criticizing diminishes that sense of importance, what good is it doing? It's not. It's doing total negative. That's the importance of the power of how these very first. I mean, just think about this. If everybody went out today, the word got out, went out on Facebook and all the news channels and in the newspapers and everywhere across the nation, the word went out, and it was today, October 12th, 2015, no one shall condemn or criticize or complain about another. And everyone shall, I'm trying to think, hang on, did I go too far? I went too far. And everyone shall give honest and sincere appreciation for each other. Just imagine one day, nobody criticized or condemned or complained about anybody else, and everybody gave honest appreciation for each and every person who they encountered in the day. Wow. Just one day. If everybody did those 2 things, imagine, how would tomorrow be? What would tomorrow be like if that happened? It would be amazing. It would be utterly amazing. Just 2 things. Those 2 simple things. So finishing off chapter 2 real quick, and I'm not sure if we did this or not, but we're going to do it anyway. Finishing off chapter 2 here, I consider my ability to arouse enthusiasm among my people the greatest asset I possess, and the way to develop the best that is in a person is by appreciation and encouragement. There is nothing else that so kills the ambition of a person as criticism from superiors. I never criticize anyone. I believe in giving a person incentive to work. So I am anxious to praise, but loath to find fault. If I like anything, I am hearty in my appreciation and lavish in my praise. One of the most powerful organizations ever created was the Andrew Carnegie Steel Corporation, U.S. Steel, I believe, and that company was basically run by the man who said that right there. It was Charles M. Schwab, and it's because of that right there, which is why he was one of the highest paid employees in the world at the time, is because of that right there, because of that is why the whole organization and the company was so successful to make Andrew Carnegie the richest man in the world at the time. So I don't know if I got all that out right, but you get what I'm saying here. I'm going to read that one more time. I consider my ability to arouse enthusiasm among my people the greatest asset I possess. And the way to develop the best that is in a person is by appreciation and encouragement. There is nothing else that so kills the ambition of a person as criticism from superiors. I never criticize anyone. I believe in giving a person incentive to work. So I am anxious to praise, but loath to fault. If I like anything, I am hearty in my appreciation and lavish in my praise. Otherwise, I say nothing. Sort of goes along with the if you have nothing good to say nothing at all thing. Probably heard that as a kid. You don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all, right? Well, that kind of goes with that right there. If you don't have anything good to say, hey, you know what? It doesn't need to be said. Find something that's good that you can say and change it around and make the difference. And that lavish appreciation and that hearty appreciation and lavish praise will generate much, much higher, better results than will any sort of criticism. That sentence is just too hard to read. I'm going to skip down where this is the now here's this is Charles Schwab talking about Andrew Carnegie, and he says, in my wide association in life, meeting with many and great people in various parts of the world, Schwab declared, I have yet to find the person, however great or exalted his station, who did not do better work and put forth greater effort under a spirit of approval than he would ever do under a spirit of criticism. That said, frankly, was one of the outstanding reasons for the phenomenal success of Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie praised his associates publicly as well as privately. He just simply praised his people all the time, and he got the best out of them, which is what made such a great organization. An epitaph. Here lies one who knew how to get around him men who were cleverer than himself. Kind of a weird writing there, but that's pretty powerful. If you know how to surround yourself with men who are smarter than you, how smart do you have to be successful? One thing that they mention in here, which is pretty powerful stuff, is a survey showed that, you know, the main reason wives run away is from lack of appreciation. And we often take our spouses so much for granted that we never let them know we appreciate them. Skipping that piece. Knowing the value of appreciation and confidence, he made women feel beautiful by the sheer power of his gallantry and consideration. This is talking about Florence Ziegfeld, the most spectacular producer who ever dazzled Broadway at the time. With this old book now, remember, but still. It says, he took drab little creatures that no one ever looked twice at and transformed them on the stage into glamorous visions of mystery and seduction. Knowing the value of appreciation and confidence, he made women feel beautiful by the sheer power of his gallantry and consideration. Pretty powerful stuff. Women who no one would ever look twice at. Yeah. He's talking about fasting here. I know, as you know, who would think they had people? People would think they had committed a crime if they let their families or employees go for 6 days without food. But they will let them go for 6 days, 6 weeks, 60 years even, without giving them the hearty appreciation that they crave almost as much as they crave food. There is nothing I need so much as nourishment for my self-esteem. A quote from Wilford Lunt, a great actor. We nourish the bodies of our children and friends and employees, but how seldom do we nourish their self-esteem? We provide them with roast beef and potatoes to build energy, but we neglect to give them kind words of appreciation that would sing in their memories for years, like the music of the morning stars. You know, I mean, that might sound a little cheesy, but just think about that. It goes on to talking about, you know, some people reading here thinking, you know, oh, flattery, that stuff doesn't work. I've tried that, right? Well, flattery seldom works with discerning people. It is shallow, selfish, and insistent and insincere. It ought to fall, it ought to fail, and usually does. But true, some people are so hungry, so thirsty for appreciation that they'll swallow anything just as a starving man would eat grass and fishworms. So, you know, for discerning people, intelligent people, flattery is going to be sniffed out. You know, like I said, it's shallow, selfish, and insincere. However, you may find some people so desperately hungry for appreciation that they eat up your shallow, insincere flattery. But flattery is a big subject here because we're talking about, you know, flattery is counterfeit. It's like counterfeit money, and it will eventually get you in trouble if you pass it to someone else. Don't be afraid of enemies who attack you. Be afraid of the friends who flatter you. Teach me neither to prefer nor receive cheap praise. That's all flattery is cheap praise. I once read a definition of flattery that may be worth repeating. Flattery is telling the other person precisely what he thinks about himself. Okay? So don't just feed the ego. Give sincere and honest praise and appreciation for what you see as valuable, not for what they see within themselves as valuable. That's just cheap flattery. When we are not engaged in thinking about some definite problem, we usually spend about 95% of our time thinking about ourselves. Now, if we stop thinking about ourselves for a while and begin to think about the other person's good points, we won't have to resort to flattery, so cheap and false that it can be spotted almost before it is out of the mouth. Take a little time. Don't just spew out the cheap flattery. Truly think about the praise and, you know, what it is that you like about another person that you can praise them for. One of the most neglected virtues of our daily existence is appreciation. The next time you enjoy filet mignon at the club, send word to the chef that it was excellently prepared. And when the tired salesman shows you unusual courtesy, you know, please mention it. Somehow we neglect to praise our son or daughter when he or she brings home a good report card. And we fail to encourage our children when they first succeed in baking a cake or building a birdhouse or riding a bicycle. Nothing pleases children more than this kind of parental interest and approval. Every minister, lecturer, and public speaker knows the discouragement of pouring himself or herself out to an audience and not receiving a single ripple of appreciative comment. What applies to professionals applies doubly to workers in offices, shops, and factories, and our families and friends. In our interpersonal relations, we should never forget that all our associates are human beings and hunger for appreciation. It is the legal tender that all souls enjoy. Appreciation is what people want. You appreciate people and you're going to have them eaten out of your hand. Try leaving a friendly tale of little sparks of gratitude on your daily trips. You will be surprised how they will set small flames of friendship that will be rose beacons on your next visit. Talks about a woman whose responsibilities on her job was to supervise the supervision of a janitor who was doing a very poor job. The other employees would jeer at him and litter the hallways to show him what a bad job he was doing. It was so bad, productive time was being lost in the shop. Without success, she tried various ways to motivate this person. She noticed that occasionally he did a particularly good piece of work, and she made a point to praise him for it in front of the other people. Each day the job he did all around got a little better, and pretty soon he started doing all of his work efficiently. Now he does an excellent job, and other people give him appreciation and recognition. Honest appreciation got results where criticism and ridicule failed. This is a great little quote here. Something to think about, words to live by. I shall pass this way but once. Any good, therefore, that I can do, or any kindness that I can show to any human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer nor neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. A lot of times you only get one chance to show appreciation and praise for someone. And if you miss that chance, you may never get it again. So you have to be looking for these opportunities to do so. That's what we're pointing out here. You have to look for them. That's why he says in How to Read This Book, stop frequently and ask, how can I apply this suggestion? How can you apply the suggestion of lavishing praise and honest appreciation for someone? Emerson said, every man I met is my superior in some way, in that I learn of him. There's good in everybody. Everybody has something that they can do better than you. You can always learn something from somebody, and you can praise them for that. So as I said, chapter 1 and chapter 2, this is the very fundamentals of how to handle people. And we talk about two of the biggest things. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain about other people, and give honest appreciation and praise for other people. And like I mentioned earlier, just imagine if tomorrow everybody went out and nobody criticized, condemned, or complained about anybody, and everybody who was in and around their lives, they gave honest appreciation and praise towards, just for one day. Imagine what the following day would be like. Spectacular. And days moving forward, if everybody did that one day and saw the power in it, I'm sure most of them would be doing it again the next day. And that's all it takes. It probably wouldn't even take most. We could get 25% of the people today to start a movement in doing just that for an entire day. Maybe it could spread amongst the masses. I tell you, I don't know if it's true or not, but it seems to me, what I see and feel out there in the streets, there's more unhappy people today in this world than there ever have been before. And it's kind of a relative thing. I've only got a couple minutes here, but it's kind of a relative thing, because I've always professed in the past that, like numbers, everybody's always talking about the numbers, something's on the rise, it's increasing. And oftentimes, like, let's just say crime, for instance, some particular type of crime, like burglary, let's just say auto burglary or whatever, auto theft, whatever. But year after year after year, all the news and information, statistics show auto theft is on the rise. Last year 260 autos stolen, this year 285, next year 220, 287, and auto theft is on the rise. Well, you know what? I always said, if you took the percentage of cars stolen compared to the number of people, number of cars out there, and if you took the percentage of that and you compared that year after year after year, that the difference was nothing, that it was the same. It would fluctuate back and forth. It'd be up and down, up and down, up and down, but otherwise it'd be pretty darn consistent across the board. It is not on the rise. It's relative to the number of people on the planet. That's what I used to always profess. But when it comes to this right here of happiness, can it be the same? Is it just that, instead of Instead of a million, there's a billion people that I'm looking at. Is it still only 20% of the people that are unhappy that I'm seeing? There's just so many more of them that they're everywhere that I'm seeing. I don't think so. I really don't think so. What makes me say that is because I've been going out to a lot of meetings and networking events and things like that. People aren't participating in anything anymore. And, you know, even like fundraisers and things like that that I've gone to, people aren't participating. You know, when people are happy, they participate in stuff. We're social animals. We want to be around other people. And so if people aren't participating in things, they've got to be unhappy, because when you're unhappy, that's when you clam up. That's when you hermitize. That's when you crawl into your little shell and go, leave me alone, you know? So if you go out to a group that maybe you used to go to years ago that was crowded, there used to be, you know, the room used to be full. I bet you if you go there today, you're lucky to have a handful of people there. If that group is even still functioning, if it didn't just fold up shop because nobody's coming anymore. People aren't participating. And when people stop participating, it means they're not happy. I say there's far more people, percentage-wise, unhappy in this country today than there ever have been before. If we all went out one day and did not criticize, condemn, or complain, and gave out honest appreciation and praise towards everyone else, in one day, we could make a lot more happy people. We could turn this thing around just like that. Anyway, that's where we are ending today. How to win friends and influence people. Two big things right there. Don't criticize, lavish in your praise and appreciation. How does that apply to wholesale real estate? Trust me. It does. When you're communicating with somebody at their property, about their house, things like that, these two things don't, or this first thing doesn't come out of you, and you find somewhere to give some honest appreciation and praise. You know, maybe you happen to see some trophies, some bowling trophies on the wall. You're like, oh wow, looks like you like to bowl. Are you still active in that? No, I'm not. Oh wow, you know, but it looks like you were pretty active at one time, and you actually must have been a pretty darn good bowler with all these trophies. And you know, just give them something to build upon. That's what we're talking about here. So with that, oh universe, I ask not for more riches, but for more wisdom, with which to make better use of the riches given to me at birth, consisting of the power to control and direct my own mind to whatever end I might desire. Everybody make it a great new op day. Go out there and find yourself a new opportunity on this day. That's what it's all about. And we'll see you back here on Wisdom Wednesday.